Well, magic is basically defined as the art of causing change in accordance with the will. So will is the key. If we understand that we do create our own reality, that it is all illusion and our consciousness is what's affecting it and recreating and changing it, the first step is our will. If we're clear in our will and start putting energy into that, we start making changes. Quite often the beginning of magic is clarifying the will. People are often not clear about what they really want. They might say they want one thing, and there's all these other kind of hidden agendas going in the background which are changing that picture, getting in the way of it. And so long as we can really clarify our will and know exactly what we want and get rid of all the resistances and the inhibitions, then the power is released to create that. And that is done simply through conscious choice, through visualization, through imagination, through feeling. When you put energy into that future that you want, and there's no blockage in the way and you're really clear about it, it tends to happen. There are many. The thing about co-creation is simply have to find something that wants the same result you do. Because co-creation is about two or more beings working together for the same purpose. It's not about somebody coming to help you with your purpose. It's about a common purpose. If you've got some ideas and you find there are certain spiritual entities want the same thing, then you work together. That's co-creation. And there's many possibilities amongst the angelic kingdom, various spirits and deities of various religions, the faeries, dragons, all kinds of other nature spirits. If you find any spirit that wants to do the same thing you want to do, then you can co-create. Because we're not doing very well without it. Practice, whether we believe in magic or not, we create our reality. And so it seems very sensible to do that consciously. If your thoughts are already creating around you, if you think all the bad things happening in life, all the disasters, are also your own creation from incorrect thinking, it seems a very good idea to take control of that thinking so you can create the life you want rather than a whole mess that you don't want. Now, realness is very much something we create. In a way, this whole world is illusion, and that science has proven that anyway. Nothing is solid, really. It's all made solid by our expectation of it. The various spiritual beings, such as the faeries, that to us are either non-existent or simply spirits, but they make their world as well as we make it our world. To some of the faeries, we are the spirits. Some faeries don't even believe in humans. To pick a story of how real they are, they can only really be explained through the teachings and what we've learnt from them. For instance, when you go into the Amazon jungle and we've been doing medicines there, it's the various nature spirits that teach us how to work those medicines, teach us how to see, and quite often come and be a part of that healing. When these spirits are involved, the healing is far more profound, far-reaching and almost miraculous than when people are doing it alone. That's right. I mean, I've also recorded the course so people can do it at home, and I've enchanted all the recordings so people pick up the energy and it'll help them to go into the altered state and connect with the fairies. And it'll make a powerful alliance where the fairies will come and work with them and help them. Probably because I had strong past life connections with them, so it's been part of me all the way along, so they came to me very easily. But also they are naturally the initiators in many forms of magic in the world. There are many shamanic cultures where the initiations happen in sacred places by water, because that's the medium for which one travels to the other world, and fairies have always been the teachers. That has been the same for thousands of years in many cultures. A magical journey is simply defined as a particularly initiated path that has been set through various traditions, where whatever you visualise, wherever you travel, there are set ways that have always been there, so when you go to these same places you get the same kind of power, the same initiation happens. It's like a well-trodden path. It's very much like an inner journey or a guided meditation, but it's very specific, and that these places have been set already on the astral have power. So there are specific places you go to, and when you go to these places in meditation, various changes are triggered. Yes. Dragons are very large spiritual beings which exist in nature. You could say that they're like giant nature spirits on a much vaster level, so the power there is enormous. and their place is to hold balance in this world. They govern the ley lines, try to get the energy right, so they help everything to kind of evolve and grow, and they provide spiritual energies. They provide the energy of transformation. They can be linked to our kundalini. We are never alone. When our kundalini rises, we're very much affected by energies around us. Being in the right place, emotionally or physically, changes that. The beings you're in touch with changes that. When you're in touch with the dragons, the kundalini can rise far more quickly and more powerfully and create greater transformation. The whole idea of a dragon being like a fiery serpent is much the same symbolism as the kundalini itself. You could say these are the guardians of the kundalini. A law is something which forms in the unconscious. It's deeper than a belief. The different stages in which we kind of create these blockages. A belief forms in the subconscious. If you push it deeper down to the unconscious, it becomes a law, which is now something that if you try and break it, it punishes you, and it'll stay there, and it's not so easy to release. We often make these early in childhood to make sense of the chaos. If there's something you're not getting in your childhood and the situation's too painful, but making a law and saying this is how life is, you kind of accept it and get on with it, and then you can live your life without too much trauma, yet that blockage is always there. Simple example that come up quite commonly is when people have a law of servitude. You may have been brought up not to have anything yourself, but always doing things for others, having to fetch them tea or whatever it is, and you learn to serve. And you might then form a law, I'm not here for myself, I'm here to serve others. Then all your life you're serving others, when you try to do anything for yourself, you end up punishing yourself and failing. So that kind of law can be a huge blockage. And you might try the usual process of releasing beliefs, and again, you try and release a belief, the law comes in, reverse everything you've done, and you get punished for it. So releasing a law as a bottom line piece of beliefs has a far more profound effect. It comes as a natural progression when you start looking at your emotions and your beliefs. As you start point holding and things start to surface, many people are aware of how emotions affect them and they come up these days, but some people don't even have that awareness. You start holding a point and it's like emotions come up and memories come up. They have no idea what it's about, they have no idea that this has anything to do with their healing, but gradually they learn. As you get into the process, it gets more complex. You see beyond the simple emotions and thought patterns, you see the complex kind of associations we make with these things and the beliefs that form, and then gradually as you go deeper to the really early stuff in a childhood, which is often even pre-verbal, you recognise laws. They're such solid structures that you've always been in all your life. Before you get to that point and you might suspect a law, you can tell it by the restriction in your life. Like if I describe certain laws, such as this law of servitude, a lot of people have already recognised that, realise that all their life they've been serving others, never have anything for themselves, and might trace it back to the childhood when that's what they had to do. So just by hearing about these things, you can often recognise there's a law operating in your life. Well, a crystal is a conscious thing. That's the thing about it. A crystal is kind of crystallised consciousness. In its consciousness, it's actually beyond time and space. What you have in the crystal is simply a solidified piece of consciousness. And if you can learn to hold any crystal and just tune in, you begin to feel its expansive nature, that it is in touch with everything beyond time and space. Every crystal is in touch with the whole world of crystals. You don't have to have a crystal next to you to tune to it once you've met it. You can call it to your mind and there it is. So just by holding crystals and realising it's a conscious thing, you begin to build a communication. It's not in words, it's maybe a more subtle form of communication than when you're speaking to spirit guides or fairies or anything. But there's definitely communication happening with this exchange of feelings, information and energy. There's a flow between you. And when that's in that flow, there's a kind of co-creation starting. Because the crystal has different properties from you, and when those properties come together, then together you can do far more. No, crystals get damaged. Every crystal has a spirit at some point, but quite often when a damaged crystal can lose the elemental life form within it, you simply got something that's quite dead. It's important to find a good undamaged one. If the point is damaged, quite often it's losing its power. They will pick up the consciousness of what's around them. That's the thing. Crystals have a tendency to store things and even amplify them. So if your crystal has been mined in a negative circumstance, then it's going to carry that energy. It's why you've had things like cursed diamonds passed down through families. You know, people are aware that they have a certain diamond in the family and everything it's got bad luck, because they hold energies. Yes. That's a good thing about crystals. Once you attune to the consciousness, you can change the energy. Shining ones can come from various sources. It's the name we use for any shining being, is basically a being of light. The ones we work with in my courses are the beings of Sirius that evolved beyond the physical form into a being of light. Now, they were actually ascending towards archetypal energies. You could say the creative first divides into various archetypes. Those archetypes are always seen as shining ones, but an ascending consciousness which meets those also becomes shining one. So something in between the physical and the pure God energy, as it were. That's a being of pure light and energy. The way I work, the ancient ones are from the faerie world, but obviously different traditions have different ancient ones. Any being that's been around for thousands of years and become immortal is seen as an ancient one. In the faerie world, these are the kind of the kings and queens. They're the initiators of magic. They're the experienced magicians who become immortal and maybe thousands of years old. They're the ones who really know the magic. Now that does change for different people, and also at different stages of development. In our tradition, the first helpers are actually trees. They are the natural guardians of the threshold between this world and the next. So our first allies are the tree spirits. That's why the magician has a staff. You take the tree spirit with you in a staff, and that's your first ally, which connects you to the spirit world. When you get into the spirit world, you meet Faeries, then you move on to the dragons, and those are the most powerful beings. The Magick Course I do alternatively years in between my healing courses, which generally start around September and is a weekend a month. Though they're also recorded now, so people can buy them to do at home in their own time. But they're all journeys into various magical places which awaken certain potential within us, and it's progressive. We start with the underworld journey, then we work through the faerie world, work with the dragons, with the dark elves, which help us understand the darker sides of our nature. Work with the shining ones, then further initiations into the fairy realm. So each course is progressive, take one deep into the magic to actually release the deeper blockages and awaken the pure potential.